Welcome back. In this tutorial, we're going to cover the coil feature. So Inventor tells us that coil creates a helical coil, spring, or thread feature. So if you think of obviously a spring is a helical feature, a coil. Also threads on a inside of a nut or on the outside of a bolt would also count being created with a coil. So things we're going to need to create a coil, we need a profile sketch. So let's go ahead and create that, and we'll project our geometry. This example here, I'm going to use a circle, very similar to the first revolution that we did. This does not need to be a circle. So if we go ahead and go to Coil, auto selected our profile for us. Our axis is going to be the Y. And now we can see a profile, a preview. So my output is going to be solid. We could also do a surface. We'll get into surfacing in Advanced Inventor. But let's look. We can also change our rotation direction. So that's the direction that is coming off of our profile, whether it's a left hand or a right hand. Coil size. For this example, we're going to use revolution and height. This is going to depend on your specifications for the part that you need to make. However, revolution and height are a very easy way to think of it. So if we look at revolution and height, this coil makes 1 revolution over 1 inch. So now if we change this to 2, we're going to see we have 2 revolutions, 1, 2, over that same inch. Now if I change this back to 2 inches, all it's going to do is stretch out my coil. If I take and change this to 0.5, it's going to compress it. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's change this to 2 inches, and let's change our revolutions to 8. Let's try 6. And we're going to hit OK, and we're going to see that now we do indeed have a coil. All right. It's pretty tight. Now if we come in, we double click it to modify, and let's change this back to 8. And the reason I didn't want to do 8 the first time was I was concerned that we might get an error message that pops up, which we did. How did I know there was going to be an error message popped up? Is it because of my immense inventor skills? How about experience? Taking a look at this, I can see that it looks to me like my distance from here to the edge of my profile to this bottom quadrant is going to intersect here. And that's exactly what happened. So in a case like this, I have several options. It cannot self-intersect. So if I change my number of coils down to 7, are we going to be okay? Yes, we will. And that's a very tight spring. So that would either be like a torsion spring or an extension spring, where you're putting force into it by pulling it apart, as opposed to a compression spring where you're putting energy into it by compressing it down. So as we said before, we don't have to be a circle. We can be any kind of a shape. So if we make a hexagon, now I've got a hex coil. If we undo, real quick, go back to our circle, and go back to edit my coil, I can see that under coil size, I've also got a taper. So we can create a tapered spring, tapered coil. So we've got that option as well. So kind of just getting into coils. But again, this is a solid, so as long as we have a planar face, we can project. We can make a sketch on that and then project off of it. And now I can extrude. So now I could have a coil with extensions coming off of the coil end. So that's an option that we have as well. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.